Well, good morning. My name is Pastor Jeff. I'm the lead pastor here at Compassion Church, and we're so glad that you joined us in person or online. Either way, we are so glad you are here. Just in a few weeks, as Sam has said, Pastor Sam has said that Easter is going to be here. And how many services do we have for Easter? 3. How many opportunities do you have to invite someone to Easter? 3. How many times can you go back and get a cup of coffee during those times of Easter services? As many times as you want, okay? It's endless coffee. The thing is that this Easter, you have an opportunity to invite people to come to church that maybe would not ever come to church because it is the Easter season. Now, I will tell you that we are not interested in stealing people from other churches. That's not what this is about. How many know that our goal and primary goal should be stealing them from the grips of hell? That's what it should be about. That we want to introduce them to Jesus Christ, who will change their life forever. And so when you leave today, you'll get an invite card. I encourage you to pray and invite the very people that you're praying down. You've written down, you're praying and you're inviting them to Easter. Don't just go up and put it on a windshield and hope that they're going to come, but have it by personal invitation. One of the greatest forms of evangelism is by personal invitation. Not by a mass handout or like that. Usually, we've tried this in the past where we did the door hangers. We saw a 0.000001% return on that. But the greatest return we see, Joe, is by personal invite. By personal invite. That is the greatest form. And here at Compassion Church, we want people to come be a part of our family. Why? Because here at Compassion Church, we're a family of individuals that have found hope in who? And we simply want as many people to experience that exact same freedom. Our heart, our desire, our mission is to see the lost saved, the saved freed, the freed restored, and the restored fulfilled. That should be our heart. And so today, I just encourage you, we're getting closer to Easter. Do not miss out on the opportunity to invite someone to Easter services. And it's not about packing out our church. It's about them being here and hearing the gospel of Jesus Christ. Maybe you don't feel comfortable doing that. Bring them here. We don't mind doing that. But I believe that also it's more than just a Friday night or a Sunday morning. Our desire is for them to continue to come and be a part of the family and grow in the family. I love doing life together with you. And I don't know about you, but I'm open for other brothers and sisters to come be a part of our family. How about you? So we've been in this series called Shine, and our primary objective through Shine is talking about evangelism. And so we're going to get there here in just a moment. But as I was thinking about Shine, I began to think about whenever I was youth pastoring from 2005 to 2012. Now, during that time, we did these things called lock-ins. Now, who's ever been to a lock-in before? Okay. Now, we did these lock-ins. Sometimes we would do one. Actually, I don't think we ever did one a year. We always did 2 a year. And we played this game. Now, this game has a very interesting name, and I asked before I share it with you so that nobody would stone me or maybe they'd take me off Facebook or whatever else. So, but this was the name of the game, okay? But the name of the game was called Communist, okay? And so the purpose of this was an intense game of hide and seek in the dark, and you're trying to find a light. And so what we would do is we would turn on a flashlight, and these individuals that were selected to be the taggers, the communists, would take the light, and they would turn it on, and they would go to a room, and they would take that flashlight, and they would turn it upside down, and then they would go find another room, and that would make that the jail. Then they would release everybody to go and try to find the light, and while they're trying to find the light, these communists would come and get you and take you to jail. And if you were in the light room, then you were safe. Well, there'd be times in which we'd be playing this game and people are looking for the light room, and they don't even know they're in the light room. They're hiding. They have no clue that they're in the light room. And then there'd be other times in which people would find out they were in the light room, but what you couldn't say was that, hey, I'm in the light room. I found it over here. 2 things. One, it messes up the entire game. Secondly, is that it's not about yelling it out. It's about going out and telling somebody, hey, I found the light room. It's over here. And so there was a few people that we discovered while playing this game. One is that there were people that once they found the light, they were safe in the room. They didn't want to get outside of the room because they didn't want to get caught. They wanted to stay there. They felt safe in that moment. Then there was others that would go out and they would try to get people and give information and say, hey, listen, the light room's over here, hoping they wouldn't get caught by the communists. Then there was those other ones that were called to, felt like they needed to go and free the people out of the jail, and they would tag them and they would take them to the light room. Now, what's interesting about this is that as I was thinking about this game, how often do we do that within our own Christian life? Is that sometimes we can find the light and we can be so comfortable being in the light room, we don't want to get outside that light. And there's other times in which we are outside of that light that we're trying to point people to the light room so that they find a place of security, they find a place of safety, that it's in that light room they have it. And there's others that, man, they go into the deep part of it. They go and they try to minister to those that are in jail or those that are on the street and share the light to let them know about Jesus. And so whenever I was thinking about this game of communists, I began to think about, man, we were actually kind of pointing out the different types of people that share the light of Jesus. And I want to encourage you today that you cannot be the light without accepting the light. He is the light. And so it's oftentimes we try to be a light, but if you do not have the light, how can you lead people to where the light is? So we've been in this chapter of Matthew chapter 9, to where we see how Jesus heals a paralytic. He forgives him of his sins. We see that he calls Matthew, the tax collector, to come and follow him. We see that he heals a woman that has the issue of blood. We see that he raises a girl from the dead. All through the chapter of Matthew, where we see that Jesus is being a light in this community. People see him, but not only do they see him, they feel him. They feel him in that area. And so in Matthew chapter 9, verse 27, we find that Jesus is about to encounter two blind beggars. And this is what it says. He goes, two blind men followed him, calling out, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." And when he had gone indoors, the blind man came to him, and he asked him, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" "Yes, Lord," they replied. Then he touched their eyes and said, "According to your faith, let it be done to you." And their sight was restored. And Jesus warned them sternly, "See that no one knows about this." But they went out, spread the news about him all over the region. And while they were going out, a man who was demon-possessed and could not talk was brought to Jesus. And when the demon was driven out, the man who had been mute spoke. The crowd was amazed and said, "Nothing like this has ever been seen in Israel." But the Pharisees said, "It is by the prince of demons that he drives out demons." So here these two blind men, they yell out, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." Now, why would they do this? Why would they even yell this out? Well, first of all, is that they recognize that there's something different about this Jesus, but they also recognize that he is from the lineage of David, and they recognize him as Messiah. And so that means that he is Lord, he has authority, and they recognize him as something different, someone that had authority. And here they are, they're saying, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." Now, Jesus is the light in that community, and it is shining bright. But I'm going to tell you what else is shining bright in this moment is these men's faith. You ever been around people that have such faith in a situation, in a moment, you're just like, "Oh my goodness, I wish I had faith like you"? You ever been like that? I remember one time my brother, he quit his job, everything, to go to become a full-time evangelist for an entire year. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" I'm just like, "You're crazy." And I am a pastor. And in that moment, though, that's what God told him to do. But he had such faith to be able to leave all that he had to be able to pursue what God had called him to do. And here these blind men were going into this room believing, and man, their faith was shining so bright that it was not only for Jesus to see, but others began to see it as well. notice, though, what Jesus said to them. He said, listen, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody what happened today. All right. If you're blind and you can see because someone prayed for you and touched your eyes, are you going to be able to hold that in? Absolutely not. I'm going to tell anybody and everybody that I possibly can. I can just imagine, and how many just when you read your Bible, your imagination goes wild? Like, what could happen here? So my imagination is this, all right? Come Monday, this happened on a Friday. Come Monday, all right, when the work day starts open and everything, these two blind men go to Express Personnel or they go to the unemployment office and they're filling out an application to try to get a job. And it says, your resume. And all they could put on there was blind beggar. And when it came to the time of the interview, and the interviewer is asking questions, and he goes, well, I'm looking at here and I'm seeing that your last job was a blind beggar. How's that even possible? Well, let me tell you a story. Friday, this man came by, and me and my buddy right here, we knew that this was Messiah. And he healed our eyes to where we can now see. Now, that's my imagination, right? But I promise you, if they were blind beggars, people knew who they were. And they began to tell people all around them. Their story was something that they could share about God's goodness and God's faithfulness and God's healing. So the question that we need to ask ourselves is that, God, what am I doing that I put my faith in you in the situation that maybe I'm going through, that I'm maybe blind? And the thing is that these men, they were physically blind, but they could see spiritually, but physically they could not see at all. They could see that Jesus was the Messiah, but there were people that were physically able to see, but they could not see spiritually that Jesus was the Messiah. And so we find that these men had such an impact in that region that people began to just hear of this story and it began to spread. But it wasn't just these men, but there was another man. This was the guy that was bound by this demonic spirit. It was mute. And here he's walking in. Someone's bringing him to Jesus. And these two blind men, or I guess not blind anymore, is walking out. And can you imagine maybe that conversation that was taking place as they're going? He can't say anything. But those two blind men said, dude, I didn't realize that you were that skinny. Dude, I didn't know you had that long of a hair. Man, I thought you were a lot prettier than that. I don't know. The thing is that they were having a conversation. They were able to see things they couldn't see before, all because of Jesus. But then this man comes and he's prayed for. He couldn't speak before. But Jesus touched his mouth, delivered him of this demon, and now he's able to speak. And I wonder what his first words might have been. I don't think it was goo goo gaga. I honestly think it was, thank you, Jesus. These two men, or these three men, had a story to tell of God's goodness and God's faithfulness and how God touched them. They had a testimony to share. Does anybody have a testimony that you can share about God's faithfulness and what he's done in your life? I mean, we should, right? But as I was praying and preparing for today, I felt like the Lord say, we can look at these miracles and say, man, we can celebrate what God has done in this time of miracles. But what if God doesn't? What if God didn't heal the two blind men? Would Jesus still have been Messiah in their life? Would Jesus still have been the King of Kings and Lord of Lords? Would Jesus still have been? And I think they recognized him as Son of God, the Son of Man, the Son of David, not thinking that, well, yeah, I believe they were believing for the sight to be healed, but even if they hadn't, I think they still would have recognized him as Messiah. And so often what happens is that people think that it's because of your testimony and how things are going great and how God delivered you that you have a testimony. But can I tell you that you still can have a testimony even in the midst of your struggle, in the midst of your storm. You may be dealing with anxiety. You may be dealing with depression. You may be dealing with a a marriage that's on the rocks, but yet you're trying to go through it. And oftentimes what happens is that we're asking God to deliver you from it rather than asking God to help you endure it and Him help you through that. We allow the circumstances of this world to be the bushel in which our light can shine, when in reality the circumstances of this world should be the light in which it stands on that shines the light of Jesus even in the midst of that circumstance. And Paul, who is a phenomenal missionary that we see in the book, in the New Testament, he wrote most of the New Testament. It says in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, he said, therefore, in order to keep me from becoming conceited, I was given a thorn in my flesh. Now, the word, when we look at the thorn in my flesh, it could be, some believe that he had a problem with his eyes or another physical aspect of it. Others believe that it's a struggle in sin. We're not entirely for certain, but he's saying that I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses and insults and hardship and persecutions and difficulties, for when I am weak, then I am strong. Far too often we allow our circumstances to be the very thing that snuffs out our light, when in reality, your circumstances and what you're going through may very well be the hill in which your light is meant to shine for others to see. I've been around people that have had cancer, dying of cancer. And I'm going to tell you right now, the light that I see through them. Continue to pray for those and encourage those. There'd be moments in which I would get text messages from an individual who would be watching from home because she has cancer and said, Pastor, I'm praying for you today. And the thing is that she didn't allow the cancer, she didn't allow her circumstances to snuff out what God was calling her to do. In the same way, God is calling you to even endure through your anxiety, through your depression, through your addiction, through your mess-ups and through your hurts, your hang-ups and habits, to be the light into this world, even in the midst of your struggle. Because at the end of the day, God is still God over whether or not He heals you or He doesn't heal you. And sometimes we don't understand why in the world would God not heal me, but He heals somebody else. Why would God deliver me or deliver somebody else and not me? I can't explain that. But this is what Isaiah 55 says. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. My thoughts than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So I can't explain the reason why. But I will say that oftentimes people maybe feel like, well, they love them more. And God loves you just as much as the person that He's healed. He's loved you just as much as the person that He delivered. Sometimes we can't understand the reason why you're going through what you're going through. But if we just continue to look back, I promise if we just stop right now and we look back and we say, God, I recognize that you got me through this. And that I was able to shine my light in this circumstance. I shared early in the first service is that today, I'm not going to lie, I've been dealing with some anxiety today. And I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like it one little bit. And that anxiousness could be something that would snuff out everything that is happening. But I'm over there and I'm praying, Lord, help me get through. Help me be able to not allow that to snuff me out. In the same way, there are some times that we're allowing those things to just snuff us out. And it's supposed to be the very thing in which we stand upon and say, God, you're going to get me through this. Greater is He that is in me than he that's in the world. God, I'm able to do this because of what you've done in me, because of the light of the world. It's not meant to be snuffed out. It is more powerful than I could ever be. And so we just got to continue to trust the Lord in the circumstances that we're going through. Having faith that He's going to heal, He's going to deliver. And it may not come in the timing that you think it's supposed to come. Even Jesus, whenever he had a friend named Lazarus that died, and they came and they told him that he had died. You would think that after a friend had died that you're going immediately. But it wasn't until 4 days later that Jesus shows up to the tomb, shows up, and Martha says, Lord, if you would have been here, my brother would not have died. But it was for the purpose of God's glory to be revealed whenever he said, Lazarus, come forth. Can't explain why in the world would Jesus stay for 4 days. But the very struggle, the very things that you're going through, God's going to use for God's glory. Pastor, how does this deal with shining? Well, the thing is that you can shine in the miracle of a healing touch, or you can shine in the middle of your addiction. You can shine in the marriage restoration of something, or you can shine even in whenever the marriage is on the rocks and you're trusting in the Lord God Almighty. You have He's King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and He's going to be right there with you and helping you through that. So today, I want to give you some practical tips to be able to do this, to share your story. Because Revelation chapter 12, verse 11, he says, they triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from it. They triumphed over him. Who did they triumph over? Satan. And it wasn't because of the miracle that took place. It was because of the blood of the Lamb that they are able to triumph over that. And it is through that you're able to share your testimony of the goodness of God and what He's done. Ricky, I sent you a picture. I don't know if you saw it the other day. I think it's 4 years ago. I saw a picture of Ricky on our first Easter with Hope Center. And he's standing next to our Easter bunny that's there. And it's one of his, I think it's fresh, very fresh of being there. And I see Ricky 4 years ago. Now, if you know Ricky's story, he's kind of gone in and out of the Hope Center, but now he's the interim Hope Center director at our campus. And I'm looking at that picture, and I'm looking at him now, and I'm looking at this picture, and I'm looking at him now, and I'm like, Lord, what have you done between this time and this time? It's so miraculous, I cannot explain it. But God only knows the timing. He wasn't ready for Ricky to step into that position, but he is ready now. And God's brought him through those moments. In the same way, maybe you're thinking, God, why haven't you done this yet? But maybe God's refining you in your moment right now. God's refining you in your area of marriage. God's refining you in your singleness. God's refining you in whatever it is that God is doing. And so often, we want it now. I don't know about you, I want it now. But I want to tell you about a few things that which you can do to share your story. One is do it at your job. You're like, well, I'll get in trouble. Well, it's not about you speaking it at your job. It's about living it out at your job. And opportunities. So I asked permission if I could share this. Mia works at Starbucks. And I'm very proud of Mia. Because when she asks questions, she asks me, Pastor, I don't understand this. And then when she asks me those questions, sometimes I have to say, I don't know, I'll get back with you. I love it. She challenges me. But she works at Starbucks, and she's telling me, and she's praying for her friends, and she's trying to evangelize right there by just living her Christian life. And we're having this conversation, and you can do it right there at work. And I believe that she's sowing seeds little bit by a little bit. So you can do it at your job. Another way is one-on-one conversations. You never know whenever that one-on-one conversation at a grocery store, at the gymnasium, at the mall. So I shared this in the first service, and I asked if I could share it in the second service because totally unexpected. But yesterday, Mandy and I had taken Alexa to the mall, and it was nuts, by the way. Forever 21 is going out of business. They should go out of business. Anyway, we got out there, and so we're walking around, whatever, and I decided to go for a walk, and I'm coming back, and I've been wanting a watch, Okay, I've really been wanting a watch. I've been thinking about it. I don't wear watches, but I haven't really thought a whole lot about it. And so as I'm walking, I look over, and there's this jewelry store right across, I think, from the Starbucks, and I think that's where it was. And I'm walking, and this watch gets my eye, and so I go over, and I check out the watch. And so I'm talking to an individual, and he's telling me about it, whatever, and then he calls over a guy named Tyler and said, hey, what's this question, whatever. So Tyler began to explain. So we're having a conversation, and so Tyler asked me, what are you looking for in a watch? And so I'm telling him, well, I'm a pastor, and maybe something that kind of looks kind of good with my outfits or whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking about a watch. I'm trying to figure this thing out, And so he's explaining to me all the different things about this watch. And so we get down the road a little bit in our conversation, and we start talking about church. And he said, well, I'm trying to find a church. And so I'm like, well, let's turn the tables a little bit. You asked what kind of watch I need. What do you need in a watch? What do you need in a church? So we had that conversation, and we really connected very well, and just really, I was encouraged by him. Hopefully I encouraged him. And we're about to leave, and I invited him to Easter. And so gave him a number, and we talked a little bit, and I said, Tyler, do I pray with you? I mean, the mall is packed. I mean, it was packed yesterday. And so in that moment, I was able to pray with Tyler. I didn't care about everybody else, and Tyler didn't care about his coworkers. He didn't care. We was able to pray right there. We leave, and we're about to leave, and Tyler says, I'll see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And and I get that all the time. I'm not going to lie, I get it all the time, and I never see anybody. And I asked to share this, which I can. Tyler's here today. And I don't say this to embarrass Tyler, but I'm using this as Tyler as an opportunity for him to be a light to other people. Because right now you have a story, because even I found out that God, he actually prayed, Lord, send me somebody to encourage me to get back on track. And the very next day I was able to come and connect with him, and today he's here. That encouraged me. But it's to encourage you that you never know the impact of just a divine interruption. Listen, I do want a watch. I don't know that I can afford one of those watches. But I'm grateful for the opportunity that I had. Because I'm hoping that even in that moment, maybe one of his coworkers saw that Tyler was willing. And now maybe Tyler might feel empowered, encouraged to even not with his workers, but also right there in a very busy mall. Today I want to encourage you. Who are your five that you're praying for? Who is it that God has placed in your life that you can share the love of Jesus? And it's not about condemnation. It's about an invitation to his love. Because God loves you so much that he gave his one and only son, Jesus, to die for you. And if we've accepted that and we are changed by it, it's not something that we should sit in the light room and say that, oh, I'm feeling really good right now, but it should be something that we're willing to go out and say, let me take you to the light that will change your life forever, and his name is Jesus Christ. And so I'm encouraging you today, I'm imploring upon you today that Jesus is coming soon. Listen, we don't know when it's going to be, but I do know this, that it is coming very soon. You got mom, you got dad, you got brother, you got sister, you got aunt, you got uncle, you got grandma, you got grandpa, you got your neighbors, and you can go down the list. But Jesus is coming soon. We don't know the hour in which our life will be taken or when Jesus comes. But I do know this, is that we have to be ready. But not only do we have to be ready, but if we had the cure to cancer, would we not share it? We have the cure to death, and his name is Jesus Christ. With every head bowed and every eye closed.